Birthdays are supposed to be about love, laughter, and surprises. That night, I had planned to give my husband something unforgettable, a gift I thought would light up his face. But as the candles burned low and the room filled with shadows, what I gave him was something he never expected, and something I can never take back. I remember that night so vividly. The air was heavy with anticipation. It was my husband's birthday, and for weeks I had been planning a surprise that I thought would make him feel special, cherished, like the man who still owned my heart after all these years. I decorated the living room with soft golden lights, placed his favorite cake on the table, and even bought him a watch he had been eyeing for months. But deep down, I knew that wasn't the real surprise. The truth is, I wanted that night to be different. Not just another birthday where we smiled for pictures, cut the cake, and went to bed early. No, I wanted to ignite something, to give him something unforgettable, something that would leave a mark. As I adjusted the candles on the table, my hands trembled slightly, because the gift I had chosen wasn't wrapped in a box. It was wrapped in me, my choices, my daring, my secret. And as the clock ticked closer to midnight, I knew nothing would ever be the same again. When he finally walked in, his smile stretched wide as his eyes landed on the decorations. "You did all this for me?" he asked, his voice low, almost boyish. I nodded, wrapping my arms around him. "Of course, you deserve it." He kissed my forehead, grateful, unsuspecting. He didn't know that what I had planned went far beyond cake and candles. I could feel my heart thudding against my chest as we sat down. He laughed, teased me, and cut the cake, but my mind wasn't there. It was already on the second part of the night. After dinner, I handed him the watch, and he was genuinely touched. "This is perfect," he whispered, pulling me into a hug. But I could see it in his eyes. He thought the night was over. He was ready to thank me, kiss me good night, and let things fade into the routine we'd lived in for years. But I wasn't ready for routine. Not tonight, not anymore. So I leaned close, my lips brushing against his ear, and whispered words I never thought I'd be brave enough to say. "This isn't your only gift." The way his body stiffened, the way his breath hitched, told me I had his full attention. He pulled back slightly, eyebrows raised, searching my face. "Not my only gift," he repeated, half confused, half intrigued. I smiled, a nervous, dangerous kind of smile. My hands trembled just a little as I led him toward the bedroom. He followed, laughing softly, probably thinking I'd bought him something more intimate. But when he stepped inside, his laughter died. There, sitting at the edge of the bed, was someone else, someone I had invited. His eyes widened, his voice caught in his throat. "Wait, what is this?" The man, someone my husband trusted, someone he never thought would cross a line, looked up at him, calm, almost waiting for permission. The air grew heavy, silence pressing on all sides, broken only by the sound of my husband's uneven breathing. "This," I whispered, stepping closer to him, "is the gift you never expected, the one you've dreamed about, but never asked for." His jaw clenched. His body was frozen between shock, disbelief, and something else entirely, something raw flickering just behind his eyes. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't just testing him, I was testing us both. For a moment, he didn't move. His eyes flicked between me and the man on the bed, confusion warring with curiosity, anger tightening his jaw. "Tell me this isn't what I think it is," he finally said, his voice low, almost dangerous. I reached for his hand, but he pulled it away. My heart thudded hard against my chest, but I steadied myself. "You've thought about it, I know you have. I've seen it in your eyes when the subject comes up, when we're close. When you let your guard down, you want more, even if you'd never say it out loud." His breathing was ragged now, his fists clenching and unclenching. He turned to the man sitting quietly, shoulders tense, waiting like he knew this moment wasn't his to control. "This is insane," my husband muttered, shaking his head. "This is wrong." But the way his voice cracked on that last word betrayed him. I stepped closer, sliding my fingers along his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart. "Maybe it's wrong," I whispered, "but maybe it's exactly what you've always wanted, and tonight it's here. No secrets, no pretending." His eyes met mine then, stormy, conflicted, but burning with something undeniable, and that was the moment I knew he wasn't going to walk away. He stood there for what felt like forever, the silence in the room pressing down so hard I could barely breathe. His jaw was tight, his fists still clenched, but his eyes betrayed everything he was fighting against. "I can't," he whispered almost to himself. Then, louder, "This isn't me. I'm not this." But his voice cracked, and the denial didn't hold. He was trembling. I could see the war inside him, the years of restraint and quiet curiosity clashing against the man he believed he was supposed to be. I touched his hand again, slower this time, softer. He didn't pull away. "You don't have to explain," I said gently. "You don't have to admit it. You just have to feel it tonight. You don't have to carry the weight of pretending anymore." The man on the bed still hadn't spoken, his presence quiet, patient, like he knew this wasn't about him at all. It was about us. Finally, my husband exhaled sharply, like he'd been holding his breath for years. His shoulders slumped, the fight leaving his body, replaced by something raw and vulnerable. And when his eyes met mine again, they weren't full of resistance anymore. They were full of hunger. "I don't want you to stop," he said at last, his voice low, ragged. And just like that, the wall between us shattered. By then, there was no turning back. The air was thick, charged with something that felt almost dangerous, like if we stepped further, nothing would ever be the same again. My husband's breathing was shallow, uneven. He wasn't the man who always held control anymore. He was stripped bare, vulnerable, his walls crumbling faster with every second. I leaned close, my lips brushing his ear. "You've thought about this, haven't you? You've imagined it, even if you never admitted it." His body stiffened and then relaxed. He didn't answer, but the truth was written across his face. That tiny flicker of guilt in his eyes wasn't denial, it was recognition. The man on the bed shifted slightly, watching, waiting. My husband glanced at him, and I saw it. The spark of curiosity he could no longer bury. "I can't believe we're doing this," he muttered, but his hands betrayed him, gripping me tighter, pulling me closer, as if needing me to guide him through this forbidden space. I smiled against his skin. "It's your birthday. You deserve a gift you'll never forget." And just like that, his resistance finally collapsed. The room shifted. It was like crossing a line no one ever dares to admit exists, yet we had walked right over it together. My husband sat back, watching, torn between fear and hunger. The conflict in his eyes was raw. One part of him screamed to stop, the other begged to know what it would feel like. I held his hand, steadying him, whispering, "It's okay. You're not alone in this. I'm right here with you." The other man moved closer, his presence undeniable, filling the space with temptation neither of us could ignore anymore. My husband's grip on my hand tightened, but not out of refusal, out of surrender. For the first time, he didn't push the thought away. He leaned into it. He leaned into me. I could almost hear his heart racing, pounding in rhythm with mine, as if the two of us were about to jump together into something reckless, something unforgettable. "This is insane," he whispered, but his eyes never left mine, and I knew he wanted it. He wanted more. The silence broke when I guided him forward. That's when everything we once thought untouchable shattered. When the night finally ended, I lay there staring at the ceiling, my husband's arm draped heavily across me. The air was thick with what had just happened, with the choices we had made, choices we could never undo. I thought it would feel like freedom, like giving him something unforgettable on his birthday, but instead it felt heavier than anything I had ever carried before. He didn't say much, just pulled me close, his breath warm against my neck, as if holding on to me could erase the reality of what we had let happen. But deep down, we both knew the line had been crossed, not just once, but all the way. I kept asking myself, did I give him the best gift of his life? Or did I destroy the very thing we built together? And in the silence of that night, with his body pressed against mine, I realized something terrifying. We hadn't just opened a door, we had opened a wound, one that would never fully heal.